All right, today we're cracking open the playbook for modern business. We're diving deep into strategy, not just as some vague idea, but as the very specific set of moves that separates the real winners from, well, everyone else. So, what's their secret? Let's get into it.
It's the kind of question that probably keeps a lot of executives up at night. Is it just pure luck? Some kind of genius? Or is there a real method to all that madness? Well, the answer is strategy. Think of it like this. A city bus has to follow a set route. It's predictable, it's rigid. But a great strategy, that's more like an Uber. It's agile, it's responsive, and it's always looking for the smartest, fastest path to the next big opportunity.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Making smart, strategic choices leads to very real, very tangible results. I mean, check this out. A McKinsey study found that companies with high ethnic diversity in their leadership were a staggering 35% more likely to have better financial returns than their competitors. That's a clear, strategic choice leading to a clear, competitive win. So, what is strategy really? Well, at its heart, it's the master plan. It's a company's best guess, their most educated guess on how to win in a world that's just packed with rivals and is constantly changing. It's the how that connects the company's mission, their why, to their biggest, most ambitious goals. And the ultimate goal of any good strategy, it's to build what we call a competitive advantage. Just think about Apple when they first dropped the iPad. One analyst put it perfectly. He said, Apple moved the goalposts before most of their competitors even took the field. That is a competitive advantage. It's all about creating a lead that is just really, really tough for anyone else to copy. Okay, let's start from the 30,000-foot view, corporate strategy. This is where the really big decisions get made. The fundamental question here isn't just how you're going to compete, but where you're going to compete. It's about deciding which games your company should even be playing in the first place. And broadly speaking, these corporate strategies really fall into two main playbooks. On one hand, you're trying to get bigger and expand what you do. We call those growth strategies. Or on the other hand, you're trying to fix some weaknesses and get leaner, more focused, and that falls under retrenchment strategies. So if you want to grow, you've got a few key moves you can make. The most straightforward one is concentration, just doing more of what you're already great at. Think of Walmart just opening more and more stores. Or you could diversify, like when Pepsi bought Tropicana to jump into the whole fruit juice game. And then there's vertical integration. That's where you buy your suppliers or distributors, like Apple does with chip makers, to control more of the whole process. But hey, growth isn't always the right move. Sometimes a company really needs to pull back and consolidate. That's retrenchment. It can mean restructuring to slash costs or downsizing the workforce. It can also mean divestiture, selling off parts of the business that just aren't a great fit anymore. A really famous example of this was when eBay sold off Skype because, well, the synergy they were hoping for just never happened. Okay, so you've decided which games you're going to play. Now, how do you actually win them? Well, that brings us down to business-level strategy. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's all about how you outperform your direct rivals day in and day out. The legendary strategist Michael Porter, he argued that it really boils down to two fundamental choices. You can either be the cost leader, operating so efficiently that you can offer the absolute lowest prices. That's the Walmart strategy, right? Or you can go for differentiation, making your product so unique and so desirable that people are willing to pay a premium for it. And that, of course, is the Apple playbook. But wait, there's actually a third option here: focus. This is where you take one of those two ideas, cost leadership or differentiation, and you apply it to a really specific niche market. For example, a low-fare airline is a focused cost leader. They're not for everybody, they're only for budget travelers. And on the flip side, a company like NetJets offers a super unique service, fractional jet ownership, to a tiny, ultra-wealthy market. That's focused differentiation. So we know all the different plays you can run, but how do managers actually choose the right one? Well, it's not just guesswork, it's all about analysis. So let's open up the strategic toolkit and look at the frameworks they use to build that winning game plan. I love this quote from the management guru Peter Drucker. It just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures what strategy is all about. It's not about just sitting around wishing for a better future. It's about making the tough calls and doing the hard work right now to actually create that future. So one of the most fundamental tools in any strategist's kit, a real classic, is the SWOT analysis. It's a simple but incredibly powerful framework for just taking stock of where you stand, looking honestly at yourself, and scanning the world around you. Here's how it breaks down. Internally, you look at your strengths, the things you do really well, and your weaknesses. Then externally, you scan for opportunities, positive trends out there you can jump on, and threats, things like new competitors or changing rules. See, a good strategy uses your strengths to grab those opportunities.
Okay, but what if you're a massive company with tons of different products, right? How do you possibly decide where to put your money and your energy? Well, that's where something called the BCG matrix comes in. It's a really powerful way to manage a whole portfolio of different businesses.
So the matrix plots your businesses on two simple axes: how fast the market is growing and how much of that market you own. First up, you've got the stars. These are your champions. They're in high-growth industries and you have a big share. The strategy here? It's simple. Invest. You pour resources into them to fuel that growth even more.
Next, you have the cash cows. Now, they dominate their market, but it's a slow-growing one. These businesses just generate a ton of steady cash, and they don't need much new investment. So the strategy? You milk them. You take that steady cash flow and you use it to fund your stars and maybe some other promising ideas.
Now, this is where it gets tricky. The question marks. They have a small piece of a fast-growing market. So they have huge potential, but they're also super risky, and they burn through a lot of cash. The strategic decision here is basically a gamble. Do you invest a ton of money to try and turn them into stars? Or do you cut your losses? And finally, we have the dogs, low share of a low-growth market. They don't make much money, and they have very little potential. The strategic advice here is usually pretty blunt. Divest. Sell them off. Liquidate them. Now, of course, while this is a classic framework, it's also a little dated. It's more of a conversation starter these days than a hard and fast rulebook, especially since it doesn't really account for things like brand synergy between different products. You know, we've spent this whole time looking at how massive corporations think about strategy, but what's so fascinating, what's so cool, is that you can apply these exact same frameworks to the most important business of all, your own life and your own career. No, really, think about it. What are your personal strengths and weaknesses? What are the opportunities and threats out there in your field right now? What is your unique competitive advantage? That thing you do better than anyone else? Applying this kind of strategic thinking to yourself can be a total game changer for your growth. And that brings us right back to where we started. As you move forward from here, just ask yourself this one question. Are you acting like that bus, just following a predictable, predetermined route? Or are you acting like the Uber, constantly scanning the map, ready to pivot and go after new opportunities the second they pop up? The choice is yours.